Detective Marcus Hale was a straight shooter. 10 years in the American Metropolitan Police Department, decorated for integrity and courage. He wasn't flashy, didn't play politics, and most of all, he never crossed the line. One rainy evening, Marcus and his partner, Detective Donovan Briggs, led a raid on a known drug syndicate safe house. After a short, brutal firefight, the operation was a success. On the floor of the warehouse sat 3 large duffel bags, stuffed with heroin and nearly $3 million in cash. Marcus immediately called it in, insisting that evidence control handle the money and drugs by the book. But as soon as the scene quieted, Briggs pulled him aside. "Listen, Hale, no one's going to miss a few bundles. We skim a little off the top, and everyone goes home happy." Marcus shook his head firmly. "We do this by the book. Every cent goes in." That refusal would mark the beginning of his downfall. Back at the precinct, word traveled fast. The narcotics division, particularly those with deep ties to the street, weren't happy with Marcus' decision. For years, the department had been quietly taxing drug busts. The extra money funded lifestyles, debts, and in some cases, more crime. Captain Reynolds, a heavy-set man with a cold stare, called Marcus into his office. "Son, you've made some enemies with your little speech about doing things right. You're either with us or you're a liability." Marcus didn't flinch. "I became a cop to protect people, not to rob them." From that day forward, Marcus was isolated. Colleagues stopped talking to him. Reports he filed mysteriously went missing. Witnesses in his cases began retracting statements. And Briggs, his former partner, avoided him like the plague. One night, Marcus was called to back up a routine bust at an abandoned motel. It seemed off from the start. No briefing, no backup cars, just a quick radio call. When Marcus entered room 12, the stench hit him. A dead body slumped against the wall, bullet hole through the chest, drugs scattered on the floor. And on the bed, stacks of cash, bundled neatly with his fingerprints on them. Before he could react, the door slammed open. Captain Reynolds, Briggs, and 2 narcotics officers stormed in with guns drawn. Reynolds said, well, caught red-handed. Taking a little for yourself?" Marcus stammered, "This isn't what it looks like. I was called here, but the body was pinned on him. The money was evidence, and within minutes he was in cuffs." The press had a field day. Hero cop exposed as drug thief and murderer. The media tore him apart. Headlines screamed, "Hero cop turns wolf, caught in drug money heist." At trial, the prosecution unveiled damning evidence. A bank account in his name suddenly showing $180,000. He knew it was forged, but how could he prove it? Signed custody forms showing he'd removed seized money from evidence weeks before. All falsified. Testimony from Briggs. "I begged him to stay clean, but Hale was greedy." The jury didn't hesitate. 25 years. Marcus was suspended without pay, stripped of his badge. At trial, every piece of evidence pointed at him. Reynolds testified. Briggs testified. Even the chain of custody logs showed Marcus' signature. It was airtight, manufactured perfectly. He was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for drug trafficking, theft, and second-degree murder. But inside prison, Marcus made allies. He shared his story with a few inmates who had also been victims of setups. One of them, an old ex-cartel accountant named Luis Ortega, revealed something. "The cops who busted me, same division as yours. They've been laundering cartel money for years. You weren't set up by mistake. You were silenced." 2 years into his sentence, Marcus caught a break. A young journalist, Clara Vance, had been investigating corruption inside the Metropolitan Police. She tracked Marcus down and visited him. "Your name kept coming up," she said. "Every honest cop I interviewed. They said you're the last man standing. I think they framed you to bury the trail." Together, Clara and Marcus began piecing together evidence. Old case files, hidden recordings Ortega smuggled out, and testimonies from officers who had since retired. Clara uncovered a shocking pattern. Every major drug bust in the past decade had millions missing from the evidence log. The same circle of officers, Reynolds, Briggs, and 3 others, were always present. Marcus was the only detective who refused to participate. Clara published her first exposé, naming Reynolds and Briggs as suspects in systemic corruption. It caused an uproar. Federal investigators reopened Marcus' case. Under mounting pressure, Briggs broke. He confessed that Marcus was indeed set up. The dead body at the motel? A cartel informant Reynolds had ordered killed. The money? Planted to frame Marcus. Within months, Marcus' conviction was overturned. He walked out of prison, a free man but scared. Reynolds and several officers were indicted on charges ranging from racketeering to murder. Briggs took a plea deal. Clara's reports won her a Pulitzer. But Marcus? He didn't return to the badge. Too much had been lost. His career, his reputation, and 2 years of his life in a cage. Instead, he became a consultant for federal watchdog groups, exposing police corruption wherever he could. Bringing and helping to ensure that the force is sanitized remain his primary and main focus now. As he stood overlooking the city skyline one evening, he whispered to himself, "They tried to bury me, but I was the seed that grew roots." The city still had shadows, but Marcus had made sure the world knew the truth about the badge that betrayed him.